So now the bit that you've all been waiting for. So I first met Jonathan when we were mentors on the CIOF mentoring program. His passion for making the world a better place through excellence in corporate partnerships was evident from the outset. And when he set up his company, I had no doubt that they would achieve truly remarkable things. So I am delighted to hand you over to Jonathan now so that he can share his passion and expertise with you. Jonathan.
Thank you, Julia. Welcome, everybody. It's great to be here with you. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to speak for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to have a Q&A. So feel free to put your questions in as we move along, and then Stephen will coordinate the Q&A and we'll answer as many questions as we possibly can. So it's brilliant to be here with you talking about how to seize corporate partnerships opportunities in the cost of living crisis. So before I get started, I just wanted to get a bit of feedback from you. So I want to find out how confident you're currently feeling about building corporate partnerships in the cost of living crisis. So could you just put it in chat? And what I want you to do is, so on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident are you feeling about building corporate partnerships in the cost of living crisis? So 5 is obviously really confident, 1 is not very confident, and anywhere in between. So if you just put that number in the chat, it'd be great to get a bit of a sense of where you're at. So lots of 3s and 4s and 2s. Okay, really interesting. So yeah, 2 from Courtney, 2 from Nikki, 3 from Ruth. Okay, so 3s, 2s, not too many 1s, which is really good. But if 1 is where you're at, that's absolutely fine. And Emily, you're a 2 to 3. You couldn't quite make up your mind as to which one you were. So brilliant. Well, thank you for that. It gives me a bit of a sense as to where you're at. And I would say it feels like sort of, it's somewhere between 2 and 3 was the average about where you're coming at. What I hope is the talk that I'm going to give this morning is going to help really boost that confidence. So let me just start by sharing my slides right now. Great. So, right. So yes, as I said, this is all about seizing the corporate partnerships opportunity in the cost of living crisis. And I wanted to really bring you something fresh and new. We're talking about this topic all the time. So I wanted to share with you a bit of some fresh insight and bring you some new content this morning. So I was really trying to think about, what is the formula for success? If I can try and put that over to you in half an hour, as to really, if you're just thinking about how can I be more successful at building corporate partnerships, what are the simple things that I need to do? And I've broken that down into just 3 simple topics. So if I think about the formula for success, I think it's a combination of the following. So it's about having a remarkable mindset. So about the way that you see the world. And, I think this is partly about the attitude that you bring or that I bring to the challenge. It's also about having the right skills, because after all, I need to really hone my skills to make sure that I've got the real capability to engage companies and then to really get them excited about partnering with my charity and ultimately to secure them as well. And then lastly, it's about having the right tools. So, and, clearly, you want to have the right, processes or systems or information at your fingertips so that you can really deliver success. So I'm going to go through each one of those in a bit more detail and give you a couple of insights into what I would recommend. But I think, if you can think about it in this most simple way, if I'm going to build my success, I want to have a remarkable mindset, remarkable skills, and remarkable tools. So let's start off with mindset. And I wanted to share this quote from Anne Frank. And she said, "I don't think of all the misery, but of all the beauty that still remains." I don't think of all the misery, but of the beauty that still remains. I mean, this is somebody who is going through, a world war, seeing incredible persecution of Jews, and living in, Holland, and, living in fear for the safety of herself and her family. And yet look at this incredible attitude that she brings. She's choosing to focus on beauty rather than misery. And I think that is a real lesson for us as corporate partnerships people. It is our job and our role to consistently bring that positivity and that focusing on what's possible rather than getting too stuck in impossibility. Obviously, with some stages we will get down, but it's just about, picking yourself back up again. And one thing I would recommend as a start off on this is when it comes to mindset, I would strongly recommend you read this book. It's called The Go-Giver, and it's written by Bob Berg and John D. Mann. And for my company, this book was really a game changer for us in the pandemic. And we have used this, the ethos and the philosophy of this book to really be our playbook in the pandemic and in the cost of living crisis. It's a mindset, and it's a mindset shift. And I think when we apply it to corporate partnerships, it's something like as follows. Now, the trap for me, and let's be honest, the trap for you is to think that corporate partnerships is all about fundraising. And somehow to think about, therefore, then, because it's about fundraising, it's about extracting value from a company for my charity. But I want to tell you that that way of seeing things is gone. That way of seeing things is dead. I don't recommend you drop the idea that corporate fundraising is about asking companies for money. That's how it was, over 20 years ago, but things have evolved hugely. If you're currently seeing it as asking companies for money, you need to shift your approach. And we recommend you shift it 180 degrees. And the way to think about it is you're not asking companies for money, you're offering companies brilliant partnership opportunities that deliver their objectives. And if you want to, I recommend you read The Go-Giver. It's one of those books, a bit like Who Moved My Cheese, that you can read in 2 sittings, but it would just be something that would totally shift your outlook. Now, why am I telling you to think like this? I think it's so applicable, particularly right now in the cost of living crisis, because what happens to companies, business leaders, when tough times hit, is they focus a lot more on the bottom line. They go really totally focused on the bottom line. And what that means is that anything that doesn't look like stuff that's going to help them with the bottom line, so with making more money, then that gets either cancelled or postponed. So if you're going to companies with partnership opportunities that don't show how you can deliver their business objectives, how you can deliver them commercial benefit, then they're not going to want to talk to you until the crisis is over. So really what you want to do is totally have this go-giver mindset. It's the opposite of being a go-getter. Being a go-getter is about extracting stuff from people. This is about go-giving. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing Bob Berg. This is an amazing bestseller book. I think if you read it, it will change your life. So please read it. Tell me what you think, and tell Bob what you think. What's great is if you message Bob on LinkedIn, he always replies. That's the kind of guy he is. He's generous. He understands the power of generosity. And this is his quote that he says, your true worth. So this isn't just your true worth as corporate partnerships. This is your true worth in life. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, Bob gives this example of a restaurant. Imagine a restaurant that just about serves enough portions. The food quality isn't very good. Well, if you do that, because you're just trying to get money from your customers, people aren't going to go back. But if you are a restaurant who thinks about how can I deliver the best possible meal for the price that people are paying me and give them the best possible experience, well, aren't you then going to be one of the most successful restaurants in your city? Because you are then going to build a reputation for delivering brilliant food and brilliant service. And that is the approach that we recommend you have from a corporate partnerships point of view. Develop a reputation at your charity with companies of delivering incredible corporate partnerships that deliver brilliant benefits to companies. If you do that, the value will come back to you. That's the whole ethos of the Go Giver. I cannot recommend this book enough. And just to be clear, I get no royalties from promoting Bob Berg's book. I just love the man and this ethos. A second one, and it kind of links to this, which is really about knowing your value. So when it comes to mindset, I'm thinking about be generous, but also know your value. One of the things I've learned in my career is that the greater my confidence, the more successful I become. So when you walk into engaging with a company, be it an existing partner or a prospect, I encourage you to hold your head high. Don't go in on bended knee, but hold your head high and walk in as an equal partner and recognize that you as a charity have incredible value to give to these companies. A really nice way of seeing it is companies are rich in resources, but low on meaning. Whereas charities are the opposite. They're low on resources, but rich in meaning. That meaning you have to bring is incredibly valuable for them. But here's a good little system that we created to help measure your value. So if you're not sure about the value that you're bringing to a company and not sure how to estimate what amount of partnership you should be asking them to contribute to you, then think about these three things. Think about reputation and the positive publicity you can help them generate. Think about what would be the cost of hiring a PR agency to generate this positive publicity. I've worked in PR. On the whole, most PR agencies won't work for anything less than a sort of £15,000 per annum sort of, retainer. So immediately you can see how, oh, if I bring them some positive publicity, I'm immediately bringing about £15,000 worth of value. Also, probably the greatest way you can help them is with colleague engagement and to help them retain and attract talent. So the way to calculate your value for them here is what effect will your partnership have on their employee retention and recruitment? Because employees will feel more proud, because employees get to have brilliant volunteering opportunities and fundraising opportunities. And also because new employees get attracted to the company because they can see the difference they're making in their community. Well, statistics show that it costs about £30,000 to replace a colleague. So if you estimate that you're going to at least help them retain one colleague, maybe you think you're going to help them retain more, then you know that your partnership is worth at least £30,000. And the last one is about sales. Think about how your partnership can help them increase their sales, generate more customer loyalty, or help them reach new audiences. Think about what would be the cost of hiring a sales promotion agency to organize this activity. We did this exercise with a relatively small charity who were about to partner with a very big company. And what they did was they came to get our advice because they were really concerned that they were about to jump into bed with the company, but that they would dramatically undervalue themselves. And we calculated through this method that potentially this charity were going to be delivering £1 million worth of value for this company through their 3-year partnership. So that meant that rather than going in and saying our partnership is worth £100,000, which is probably where they would have ended up, they went in and said our partnership is worth £1 million. This is so important to know your value. It's hard for you to see it because you're inside the charity, but trust me, from the outside, you have incredible value to deliver for companies. So own it, claim it, and make sure that you build partnerships based upon your value. Secondly, I want you to be thinking about remarkable skills. And I think, I'm in the latter stages of my career. I'm 54 years old, but I just never, ever stop learning. I have a mindset of just saying, I am always learning. And my whole business is all about, we are learning and improving what we do every day. This is a lovely quote from the inspirational Maya Angelou, who said, take the attitude of a student. Never be too big to ask questions. Never know too much to learn something new. So there are some really great skills that you can have to be able to build more successful corporate partnerships. I'm going to cover two with you now. This first one, and it kind of relates quite nicely to the go-giver piece, is about seeing the world through the company's eyes. This is a brilliant technique and a brilliant skill to develop for corporate partnerships professionals. Probably, I would say, one of the most important ones. It's a bit like when I went through sales training, when I was at Unilever, they said, Jonathan, you've got to be able to put yourself in the customer's shoes. This is the same thing. The problem we have is that in our charities, we get stuck in our bubble and we actually see everything through our charity lens. That means the thing that we get obsessed with, the thing that we think we should be focusing our corporate partnerships on, is our problems. So we just see our problems. Well, what I recommend you do is practice seeing things from the company's point of view. Whenever you think of one of your companies, your target prospects, then I want you to think about, oh, let me think about things from their point of view. What are their problems right now? A great question to ask yourself is, what is keeping their CEO awake at night? The more you practice seeing their problems, the better you will get at seeing their problems. We do this so much at Remarkable Partnerships. I honestly can tell you, you can show me a company now and tell me the industry they're in, and I can very quickly tell you with probably about 80% accuracy what are the problems they are facing now as a business. That is really huge, because then if you know what their problems are, then you can start to build partnerships that help solve their problems. And that will dramatically increase your ability to build successful partnerships. Very much like the go-giver ethic, go-giver ethic, and that's not easy to say, which is about going in there and serving the company first, which will then bring back value for you. So this is a really different way to see the world, but it's such a skill, and I recommend you try it. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. The second skill, which again cannot be underestimated, and I'm sure is why you all do what you do, is relationship building. After all, these companies are going to work with you because you're great at building interpersonal relationships. And do not underestimate this, folks. And I think it can be even more challenging in this hybrid environment that we're working on. It's much easier to build relationships face to face. So you need to work harder at this when you're building relationships on Zoom or Teams. So, and this is Asha, who we spoke to when she worked at Wales Millennium Centre. And she told us we have an 85% retention rate of our corporate partners. Most of them have been with us for more than 10 years. I know all my corporate partners' birthdays. This was stunning. She said this when she was presenting at an Institute of Fundraising conference. And I think it really stunned the audience. And this is about the extra little percentage that the most skillful relationship builders do. They note down things like what's the name of their dog, or what's the name of their toddler, or where did they go on holiday. And the next time they see that person, and they say, hey, so, how is your son Hugo? How's he doing? Or, tell me, how was your holiday in Greece? And these little things matter to us so much. And again, it goes back to a quote from Bob Berg, the author of The Go-Giver. In fact, it's behavioral science, that people are more likely to buy from people that they know and that they like and trust. So this, folks, is a way of you building trust and getting people to like you more. Because I think what it does is it shows that you care. Don't do it because it's a kind of pretense. Do it because you genuinely do care. So relationship building cannot be underestimated. That means that sometimes at the beginning of the meeting, you need to do a little bit of small talk. You doing that small talk at the beginning of the meeting earns you then the right to go on to the big talk. And then the third aspect that I want to emphasize for you around having the success formula is about having remarkable tools. And we love this quote from Abraham Lincoln, who said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." So it's very important that you have, sharp tools, that you have the tools that you need to be able to deliver successful corporate partnerships. That's really essential. And probably the greatest tool that we use and that we developed in the pandemic is the partnership opportunity brainstorm. As at the beginning of this, I said that you want to be, rather than asking companies for money, you want to be giving them partnership opportunities. Well, this is the formula. This is the 5-step process for our brainstorm. So let me take you through this step by step. If you build this, then you will then be able to build really simple, compelling, inspirational, tailored partnership opportunities that you can then go and pitch to companies. And honestly, when you go and pitch them, they're going to go, "Wow, flipping heck, I love that. I am in. You just totally get me." Now, the place to start, and indeed the place to start with building successful and extraordinary partnerships, is to focus on shared purpose. So what you want to do in this step is think about, right, what is my charity's mission and what is my company's mission? And then what is the actual mission that goes in between? Where do they overlap? What is our shared purpose? So what you do is you write down your charity mission, write down the company's mission, and you find where the overlap is. And to give you an example of this, we worked with Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice, and they built a really successful partnership with Bridges, the estate agent. And for Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice, their mission is all about providing people with quality and caring end-of-life care. And with Bridges estate agents in Surrey, their goal is about helping people buy, houses that they love. And so therefore, we looked at where's the shared purpose, and we realized that the shared purpose was all around homes, because people ideally want to spend their last few days of their lives at home, surrounded by their loved ones, free from pain. And at the time, quite brilliantly, Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice wanted to create more support for hospice care at home. So we identified their shared purpose between Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice and Bridges, and the shared purpose was home is where the heart is. We both know that home is where the heart is. So you want to come up with that. Then you think about, then you use that skill of seeing things from companies' point of view, and you just write down like maybe 7 or 8 of their business priorities. What are the business priorities they face from a reputational point of view? What are the business priorities they face from a colleague point of view? What are the business priorities they face from a sales point of view? Again, the more you identify these, the quicker you'll get at doing them. And then what you do is you work out how many of those business priorities a partnership with your charity could help them with. And actually what we tend to find when we do these brainstorms, and folks, we've done over 200 of them now, is you will find that you can help them with the vast majority of their priorities. Usually it's about, of 8 priorities, you can usually help them with at least 6 of them. So this is a really good indication, because that builds your confidence. Then brainstorm some potential partnership activity and pick your best 3. People love stuff in 3s. And then think about, right, what's the big benefit for the company? If I'm to sum this up in what's the big commercial benefit for them, then how would I describe that? Because that's what you're going to need to do to really grab their attention. Because after all, when they meet with you, they're going to be thinking, what's in it for me? And to give you an example of that, in Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice, what they did was they said the big benefit for Bridges is going to be that we are going to position you as the most caring estate agent in Surrey. Now, that was an incredible big benefit that they could deliver for the company. And, this partnership became their biggest ever partnership, and it still continues to this day. And lastly, you come up with a partnership name. So just so that we love it when things are packaged in a sort of, a really memorable name. And the name that they came up with for the partnership was Home is Where the Heart Is. And it was brilliant timing because it was also Bridges' 25th anniversary. So that is a partnership opportunity brainstorm. If any of you would like to contact us afterwards to organize brainstorms, we run free brainstorms for charities, so you can find out what this is like. Then just email my colleague, Rebecca at remarkablepartnerships.com, and she will book in a free brainstorm with one of our team. And honestly, many people have had that brainstorm and then used that information, that opportunity to then go on and secure a partnership. A great example of that was Blue Cross, who did a brainstorm like this and went and secured a partnership with Sophology. So honestly, this tool is amazing. And but how is it amazing? Because we've worked on it and worked on it, and it's now really polished. I'm sure a number of you on this call have probably already used it. And then my last one on tools is, what you want to do is have your list of your target prospects. Have your list of, maybe if you're a corporate fundraiser, then you probably want ideally about 10 corporate prospects to focus on. And what we recommend, the really simple way of seeing this is, we boil this down to, you're looking for 5-star prospects. So think about it in that way. The first star is, you've got a shared purpose, just as I described just now. The second star is, you've got a contact at the company. That's really important. Where you've got contacts is really going to help you to get through the door. So that will be a game changer for you. Also, think about, have they got a problem that you can help solve? That's star number 3. Because obviously, if they've got a problem that you're brilliantly equipped to help them tackle, then they're going to go, wow, these guys aren't just out for my money. They're out to help me make me a better business. Number 4 is, have they got sufficient resources to help solve your problems? So it's not just about money. Have they maybe got skills? For example, with one of the charities we're working with right now, they want to create a video for a campaign. So, one of the companies they want to partner with is a company that maybe can produce that video for free. That would save them potentially £10,000. Then last one is, star number 5 is, have you got a realistic chance of success? To give you a sense of things, since I've been talking, HSBC has received another 6 approaches for corporate partnerships, just in the time that I've been talking in the last 25 minutes to half an hour. So if you go very popular companies like HSBC, you're going to be one of many. They receive 10,000 approaches every year and only partner with 5 companies. That gives you a 1 in, I think it's something like a 1 in 2,500 chance of success. So, it's not very good odds. So you want to think about companies a bit more below the radar. Think about companies that are a little bit less popular. Think about companies that are beyond the FTSE 100. The best partnerships that I've built are ones with companies that no one's ever heard of and that are below the radar. Think about, if you're NSPCC, then of course you can go out and build a partnership with a FTSE 100 company. But if you're someone who's somewhere in the middle or a smaller charity, you want to find a company who's in the same sort of place. So if you're a smaller charity, you might want to focus with some smaller businesses. If you're a medium-sized charity, you might want to build partnerships with the challenger brands rather than the market leaders. So look at it in this way. If you're looking to build your top 10 prospects that you're going to focus on, your corporate pipeline, if you like, then what you're looking for is 5-star corporate prospects. Or another way of looking at it is, in truth, you might be able to go with ones with 4-star. So not having a contact isn't a deal breaker, because you can always try and find a way of getting a contact. But certainly hold the bar high for yourselves to really find those. And I think thinking about it as 5-star prospects is a great way of really simplifying what you're looking for. So a great exercise you could do later on today would be to say, right, let me think about the companies that I'm attracted to, the companies that I dream of building partnerships with, and let me just give them a star marking on that. Sarah, I see you've got a raised hand. I'm going to wrap up in a moment and we'll move into questions. So we'll come on to this. But if you put your question in the chat, we will answer it. So I just want to wrap up. That's been a bit of a sort of, a quick fire way of exploring this, what we would describe as the formula for success. Think about having this remarkable mindset, about being a go-giver, about somebody who actually, you make it your goal to make other people better off. And that way then, and make your goal to make companies better off, they will then want to partner with you more. This is the law of reciprocity. If you give, then you will receive. And know your value. Walk into those meetings with incredible confidence of your value. When Macmillan went to build a bigger partnership with M&S, they wanted to make M&S the headline partner for the world's greatest coffee morning. They walked in absolutely knowing what their value was, and they walked in with they had clarity on what their walk away number was. So they were very confident that they weren't going to go below that number. And they took their best negotiations into that meeting, and they landed M&S as the headline partner for the world's greatest coffee morning. Skills, see the world through the company's eyes. This new way of seeing things. Get out of your bubble, see the world through the company's eyes. This is what the best salespeople do. And then obviously be a brilliant relationship builder. Note down things like the birthdays or the names of the toddlers or the pets of your key contacts at your prospects and partners. Lastly, the tools you want to hand. These are the two I would really highlight for today, is learn how to do this partnership opportunity brainstorm. Really key, folks, when you do a brainstorm, don't do it on your own. It's really hard to do brainstorms on your own. So involve some of your colleagues. It's a great way to involve colleagues even beyond corporate partnerships, in corporate partnerships, to show them the potential. People love brainstorming, and you're only asking for an hour. And lastly, identify your top prospects, particularly by thinking about who are my 5-star prospects. So that's it in terms of my talk. I just want to flash up a quick slide to say we've got some upcoming training courses. So no matter where you're at on your corporate partnerships journey, we do a introduction to corporate partnerships, which we're running in May. We do a corporate partnerships masterclass, which we're running in June, and we do an advanced corporate partnerships masterclass, which we're running later this month. Again, if you're interested in those, check out our website or email rebecca@remarkablepartnerships.com. And that is me.
Brill, thank you so much, Jonathan. That was really useful and really interesting. So lots of takeaways there, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed it. And we've got quite a few questions that hopefully we can run through in the time, Jonathan. So I'll just go straight in if that's okay with you. So Alicia from Childhood First is asking, they're currently rebuilding our corporate fundraising portfolio since COVID. I've noticed a lot of places like staff volunteering opportunities, which unfortunately we can't give because of the nature of our world. Do you have any advice?
Okay, cool. Well, this is really good. There's a lovely story about this one. I won't go into too much detail, but my colleague Peter, who joined us, said that he was an incredibly strong strategist, and he had a great marketeer with him, and he turned up at this charity, and he thought they were going to give them some brilliant advice on how to run their charity and how to run their strategy. And they gave them 3 paintbrushes and asked them to paint a room. And I think these days of asking people to paint rooms or dig gardens is gone. So Alicia, I would challenge you to see that there probably are volunteering opportunities that you have. For example, a volunteering opportunity could be to have somebody sit down with your head of marketing to advise them on your digital marketing strategy. Or maybe a volunteering opportunity could be that somebody in the company might be able to do a review and make recommendations for how to improve your website. Or one of the things, it's very easy to get into that trap to think, I haven't got volunteering opportunities because I haven't got gardens or rooms that people can paint. But actually, in truth, you do. When I worked with Tommy's, one of the things they did, really brilliant volunteering opportunities, was they opened up one of their meeting rooms, or indeed now you would just do it remotely, and got a team from a company to call their event participants to say, thank you so much for volunteering to run the London Marathon for Tommy's. And have you set up your Just Giving page? And have you got your, exercise plan? And is there anything else you need from Tommy's? And it was just the most incredible day for them, but also brilliant for Tommy's that they had great professionals calling them. So I think it's just about thinking more out the box about the volunteering opportunities you could have. That could be, for example, organizing a meeting with the say some key people in the business and saying, look, what do you have on your list, on your budget list for next year? Or what do you have on your wish list for next year? And then you can start to think about what are some items on there, such as, for example, there may be something which says, oh, I want to run training for my trustees on how to be better trustees, or I want to run training for trustees on how to manage risk. Think about all those items and then make a list of those, and then think about companies that can help you with those volunteering opportunities. In truth, I think you have got volunteering opportunities. You just need to think a little bit more out the box. But one thing you can do is, I hope it's okay with you, Stephen, is, if you want to, any of you are welcome to join our WhatsApp group. We run a WhatsApp group for corporate fundraisers, and I will share the link with the organisers afterwards, so you can join that too. So you can always share ideas.
Great, we'll make sure we share that too, Jonathan.
Cool.
Thank you. Next question's from Sarah. So how do you calculate the value of business benefits, thinking about the £1 million example that you gave?
Yeah, I think very much using that table that I just showed. So when it comes to reputation, think about what would it cost for them to hire a PR agency to do that. But also another great way is to do it is, another great method is to use on that reputational piece is think about, with all the publicity that they're getting, positive publicity that they're getting from our partnership, what would it cost for them to take out equivalent adverts to reach the similar amount of audience? And there's this particular thing there called EAV, equivalent advertising value. So what you could then do is work out what would it cost for that company to take out, say, a half-page ad in their target magazine to then raise a similar level of of publicity. So either think about it as the PR company that that you would pay, or indeed the advert that they would pay. So what would they need to pay to achieve that level of publicity? Similarly, as I said on employees, what would they need to pay? What would it cost them in terms of lost people? So, and this is what Carers UK do, is when they go into a company, they say, look, I want to tell you that you have got at least 1/6 of your workforce are carers. And that means they're juggling at the moment. And it means you could lose those people. And every time you lose a person, that costs you £30,000 as a business. We estimate that you could lose, because of the size of your company, you could lose X number. So our partnership value is X number. So think about how you're going to help them increase that retention, but also what would it cost for them to work with a workplace or an HR focused company to help increase employee engagement? It would cost them sort of, probably £15,000 to £20,000 to hire them. This is a great way of calculating it. And then lastly, think about what, if you're going to be doing commercial activity with them, what would be the cost of doing the equivalent commercial activity, such as sponsorship with commercial opportunity, or indeed running a sales promotion? What would they need to pay, say, a sales agency to generate a similar level of leads or generate a similar level of customer loyalty? So follow that grid that I shared in the presentation. And this is a great way. When I worked it out with this company, we worked it through step by step, just those 3 topics. What's the value you're going to bring them on reputation? What's the value you're going to bring them on colleagues? What's the value you're going to bring them on sales?
Brilliant. Thank you, Jonathan. Really useful. Kelly's asking, can I ask what the VAT and licensing approach the charity should take if you are assessing a £1 million value of the company?
Yeah, great. Well, it's not necessarily my chosen specialist subject, but I do know enough about it. So I think the key thing is, if you are, so the taxable rate, I think, is about 75,000. So if your charity overall is receiving more than £75,000 worth of commercial benefit per annum from businesses, you're then going to need to start moving this through a trading arm rather than through the charity arm. And the key point is you should be charging VAT for companies where they are gaining commercial benefit. And if you're running a partnership and they're not gaining commercial benefit, then you aren't running partnerships. So in reality, so for instance, let's take an example. If you're doing a cause-related marketing promotion, and that promotion generates £100,000 for your charity, I would say all of that is £100,000. All of that £100,000 is VATable, because the way you calculate the VAT you charge is how much value are you commercial value are you delivering for that company. Whereas if you do, say, an employee fundraising activity but is generating some local positive publicity, then you could say, right, that's raising us £100,000, but we've worked out that the commercial value of our partnership is 20K. So we're going to now ask them to make 80K of that as donation, 20K of that is sponsorship. So therefore the 20K is what's VATable. And in terms of the license, it is standard practice to charge a license fee for your brand. Some charities charge it at £1. I think really good practice is to say, as we work with a number of charities, it's to say, look, you need to be having a partnership with us of at least 25K before you can start to use our logo.
Brilliant, thank you. Next question, Jonathan, is how do you best highlight the business benefits and the money value of these in conversations?
Yeah, great point. I think it's about, we would say, in the first instance, when you first meet with them, we recommend you pitch, and we recommend you do about an 8-minute pitch to them, which is about 6 slides long. And as I said in the partnership opportunity brainstorm, what you want to do is when you're building this partnership opportunity for them, what you want to do is actually just this is what really successful advertising agencies do. When they start a presentation with a company, they start off with one big slide, which is, this is the big benefit this is going to deliver for you, because that is your slide that then earns you the right to carry on with the rest of your presentation. And so what I recommend you do is initially just boil it down to one big benefit. But then, so as with Bridges and Phyllis Tucker Hospice, our partnership opportunity will position you as the most caring estate agent in Surrey. So keep it simple, because you've only got very short amount of time with companies. In time, the way to do it when you're actually wanting to ultimately land the partnership is what we recommend you do. As you get really clear that they want to partner with you, you want to ask a really important question, which is to say look, it looks like you're really keen on partnering with us. So would it be okay, or would now be a great time for us to pull together either a pitch or a proposal which sums up the partnership opportunity that we can present to you? And in that proposal, you list the benefits that you're going to generate for them. I wouldn't put a monetary value on those benefits, because I think that just creates more room for debate. But clearly, you're going to put a monetary value on your partnership, and if you need to then back up why you put that monetary value on your partnership, you can then take them through the list and say, well, we've calculated that our partnership would be worth 20,000 for you on publicity, 50,000 for you on people motivation, and 25,000 for you on sales. But the best way to communicate, first of all, is in a pitch, and at the end of the partnership, when you want to land it in either a pitch or a proposal.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan, there's a couple of people here saying a similar thing. It's just around the brainstorming session, but just asking how to access it. It's from Rebecca's email, is that right? And we will share that.
Yeah, so I see somebody, I think Sarah said, how much would a partnership opportunity brainstorm session with you cost? It would cost nothing, because we offer these to charities for free. We did this in the pandemic. We're doing this again in the cost of living crisis. In truth, we love doing it, and it's a brilliant way for you to find out how we work. But also, some charities just do that and then they just go and do it. So yeah, if you want to do it, if you want to set up a free brainstorm with us, and what we'll do is we'll work on one prospect or partner. You can use this to develop an opportunity for a partner. Just email Rebecca. So Rebecca@remarkablepartnerships.com. and she will love me for getting 100 and odd people to, but you know, we've delivered over 200 free brainstorms. So this is just what we do. And it's our service to the sector.
Amazing, thank you. Sam's asking, what if there aren't opportunities for a company to engage with your charity other than providing philanthropic income? As an NHS charity, we can struggle at getting buy-in from SLT, which I think is senior leadership team,
Yes.
with engaging with companies, particularly those like private care homes, where there might be a conflict of interest despite a seemingly shared purpose.
Yeah. So I think the key thing is if you're struggling with buy-in from senior leadership team on corporate partnerships, then the first thing you need to solve is get the buy-in from senior leadership on corporate partnerships. And I think the way to do that is to say to them, hold a session with them, which we would call almost like a purpose and possibility session, which would say, let's brainstorm together how corporate partnerships could help us as a charity deliver our mission. That will get SLT and trustees much more on board. In terms of engagement opportunities, I mean, we are working with a number of NHS focused charities right now. So there are lots of ways that they can work with you, you know, and have engagement opportunities. You know, say, for example, you could say to, you know, so we're working with South Central Ambulance Charity right now, and you could say, well, look, you know, a great way that they work with companies is they go in and help deliver sort of essential first aid training for employees. So I think it's about thinking about what could you know, a really great trend in corporate partnerships right now, and this is a great tip for everybody on the call right now, is think about what's your workplace offer. So what's your offer to these companies that your skill could help them be a better company? So as I've just mentioned, South Central Ambulance Charity to deliver sort of basic first aid training for employees. This is incredible because it means that, you know, if ever a loved one or a friend or a colleague of somebody, you know, is in trouble, then they know what to do. The worst thing, there's only one worse thing than watching a friend or a loved one dying, is watching a friend or a loved one dying and not being able to do anything about it. So this is an incredible thing to do. But there's another example, Tommy's, the baby loss charity. They provide support for companies on being pregnancy friendly. So they provide something called pregnancy at work. So they help the company be better at supporting colleagues who want to become pregnant or are pregnant or returning from pregnancy to be a pregnancy supportive and friendly company. So yeah, I hope that answers, but yeah, get SLT buy-in, then brainstorm creatively how to engage them, because there are lots of ways to engage them. The best way is engage them in your cause, but engage them emotionally.
Great, thank you, Jonathan. I think we'll have time for one more question, and maybe the ones that we might not be able to get to, maybe we could put to you at a later date, Jonathan, to send out.
Of course.
We can have a chat. But there's one from Emily here. So what do you think is the best way to start with generating a prospect list? Would you look at industries with like mission alignment or something else to get your list of companies? Great question. Yeah, so we recommend a 3-step process, which is first of all, do a contact mapping session. Ideally, you should do a contact mapping session with the most senior people you can get to. So ideally your trustees and your SLT. What you want to do is just organize a half-hour session with them and get everybody to bring about at least 5 company contacts and then group them by industry. Very simple, but what's powerful is if you bring them all together at the same time, then you get peer pressure. If you ask them individually, you know, you don't get that power of peer pressure. Also, you're only asking them for half an hour. So obviously a little bit of time to prep, but also you're being very specific. You're saying, just bring 5, or at least bring at least 5. But also tell them that you're not going to approach those companies without their permission first, because otherwise they'll get a bit nervous and twitchy. Next bit is, I think this is one of the things you mentioned, is having got this big list of contacts, which could be about, I did one with the charity the other day, and we've got 80 contacts in half an hour, is then you say, right, let me think about what are our priority industries, what are our 4 or 5 priority industries, and then having got the contacts, then got the priority industries, which ones of those contacts, or indeed other companies, then brainstorm them to identify maybe a long list of 20, and then
reduce that shortlist down from a list of 20 based on using the 5 stars down to a list of 10. 3-step process: contact mapping, priority industries, brainstorming, prospects.
Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. I think we've just run out of time, but I wanted to thank you so much for that session. I think it was great. And what we will do to the questions that we haven't managed to answer is, yes, Jonathan, we can get them over to you and we can send those out.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer them.
That's okay. So I'll hand back over to Juliet, but thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'd like to echo Stephen's thanks. I think next time we have you speaking, Jonathan, we'll book you for an hour and a half, just so we can get through all the questions.
How exciting.
But that was really, really brilliant. And you speak with such authority based on years of successful experience, and so many takeaways. I particularly like the reminder that partnerships and not just extracting the money, and about knowing our value as charities, because we so often forget that. So massive thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's amazing to reach such a brilliant audience.
Pleasure. So our next first Thursday is on May the 4th, and it's on data protection and compliance. Don't all switch off though. We've got the equally amazing Mark Burnett hosting the session, and he makes what I personally find, I probably shouldn't admit to, but a very dry subject very interesting and amusing. So do come along. In the meantime, look after yourselves, have a lovely Easter, and hopefully see you next month. Bye-bye.